Hi, welcome to ESG's Women in Cybersecurity. I'm here today with Sharon Goldberg, founder and CEO of BastionZero and computer science professor at Boston University. Hey, Sharon, how are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me here.
So let's start with how you got into cybersecurity. Tell me what interested you in the field and how you got into it.
Yeah, I started my career as a telecom engineer. I studied electrical engineering in college. I graduated in 2003, and I worked at a power company as a telecom engineer. So I was building like the communication systems that the power company was using to reach its different power stations. I got bored actually pretty quickly after 3 months, and I applied to grad school, and so I got into Princeton, and so I was in a team that was using lasers basically to encrypt communications. And I had no idea what encryption was when I got to grad school. I didn't really know too much about lasers. I knew about telecom. So I took a course in cryptography. I'm basically an electrical engineer by training. I didn't know computer science, and at that time, cryptography was a theoretical subject. Most of the people there had backgrounds in like applied math or computer science theory, which was something like I just didn't know. So I ended up combining the two of them and was working on like network security and infrastructure security using a cryptographic lens.
When you're working that hard, it's important to work on things that you're passionate about
Yeah.
and that you think is going to be an important problem to solve, right?
And today it's obvious, right, that cybersecurity is a great field to get into. But like back then, I remember telling my dad, like, this is going to work. This is going to be big. And he was like, okay, maybe, you know, and then here we are now. I was really lucky because if I hadn't gotten into that group that was working on optical cryptography, like I don't see how I would have stumbled into this field, but that's how it happened. And then when I got to the end of my PhD, there was a question of like what I was going to do next. And I actually did take the obvious next step, which is to become a professor. And then I got tenure. Tenure basically means that you have the freedom to work on whatever you want. Like you're not being judged on your research as much as you were before tenure. But I was like realizing that what I really wanted to do was like build stuff that people use, not just come up with new technology and research and kind of stop at the point of like writing the paper and then moving on. And so that's how I kind of like took a little break from academia that turned into a bigger break and became a CEO and founder.
Interesting. So yeah, tell us about that. Tell us about BastionZero, what you guys are doing, what you built, and interacting with customers.
Yeah, so what we've done at BastionZero, we've taken an idea that Ethan and I have been working on together and separately for at least a decade. So there's this concept in cryptography of like reducing risk or like not having to trust one single entity so much. So the idea of like not having a single root of trust that if it's compromised, the security of your whole system falls apart. Instead, having multiple roots of trust so that you can maybe have one of them be compromised, but still have security in your system. We wanted to work in the context of cloud security. And so we were like, how do people solve the problem of remote access now? And we found that there's just like a million different ways that people do it. And there's an opportunity to sort of like change the way the market actually does remote access using the unique idea that I described, which is to not have a single root of trust that controls the access, but to have multiple roots of trust that control the access. And that's really what drove BastionZero.
So throughout your career, are there challenges that you faced? Are there ways that you have overcome any challenges?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about how I've seen things change over the years because like it's so interesting, like the world for women in tech, it's very different. And maybe it's just different for me because I'm no longer a young woman in tech. Now I'm like an old woman in tech. But like I remember when we started out, like early like 2000s, how women in tech were treated. And you always sort of assume that no one was going to take you seriously and you were just going to show them, and I think a lot of women my age who got through that era had that kind of attitude, like I'll just show you, like you're underestimating me, and like take that, and then you go off and do something really hard and do some other thing that's really hard, and then like you end up wherever you end up, right? I meet women now who don't feel like that, which I think is great. I think that women that are starting out now, I think they're more like surprised when they're not taken seriously. So I guess that's at least progress. Like if you look at a lot of women who've come through this field and through this business, there's a few things that you'll notice. A lot of them had OWIT female networks around them, which I had. I mean, I think for me, even now, I still feel that all the time because I'm a first-time CEO and I have a network of people who support me. Most of them are men. But, having that network and having people to like that you feel like you can be open with and not have to worry that they're going to think you're a fool or that, you know, you're incompetent, right? That can be really helpful because there's always going to be things that are hard. And being able to have someone who supports you through those things can just like allow you to get through them and solve problems that maybe you didn't know how to solve on your own.
Awesome. So thanks so much, Sharon, for joining us today. We covered a lot more ground here than what is shown in this video excerpt. So to hear the entire interview or for more interviews and articles on women in cybersecurity, please visit our website and join our community. Thanks for watching.